Joining us now, Scottie Nell Hughes, political commentator, former strategist for President Trump, Trump surrogate, as well as Dave Aronberg, state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida. Good to see you both. Scottie, I can't figure this out. You've got the reporting. That Donald Trump is sort of relishing this and looking forward to the fight. You've got it that he's actually a little scared of what might come after 40 years of being able to not get indicted. He finally is. You've got people in Trump world texting, hey, this is great because all of a sudden now we have somebody to fight against. What is it?
Leland, you've been around long enough. This is exactly what Trump does. You're not supposed to figure it out. That's a part of his game. I find it very interesting that they were not planning for this, considering Trump himself was the one who announced it was going to happen 3 weeks ago because it was leaked after a meeting amongst law enforcement on what the proceedings would be. And if you remember in Trump's announcement, he didn't say, I might. There was no actual curiosity or there was nothing left to question. He said, I will be indicted. So he knew this was coming. And yesterday, I find it interesting that the team was, chaotic trying to figure out what to say, because as soon as the announcement was made, I was already getting fundraising campaign questions. I was getting merchandise on sale. So I guess everybody else was ready for this indictment, but the Trump team themselves, that means something about the team.
Yeah, well, certainly he's been through a few tiers of the players, shall we say, in terms of Republican strategists. And also, to be fair, he was the one on Saturday who said, hey, look, I think I beat this, and we think we beat Alvin Bragg into submission. Dave, I saw this from Nancy Pelosi, okay? She's the former Speaker of the House. She holds herself out as an arbiter of fairness and justice. This is her response. No one is above the law, and everyone has the right to a trial to prove innocence. That shows a fundamental misunderstanding of the American legal system. Trials are for the proving of guilt by the state. You have a presumption of innocence. And I'm wondering if there is a conversation among Democrats that the glee, the celebrating may backfire.
Well, as a Democrat, Leland, a former Democratic state senator, I can tell you that's not universal that there's a glee. I think a lot of the people on my side of the aisle think that this case is the 4th out of 4 cases against Trump when it comes to the power, the strength of the case. It doesn't mean it's a weak case, but it's harder to prove than some of the others. I mean, when it comes to the documents in Mar-a-Lago, there's a direct tie there. When it comes to Fulton County, there's the recording. And then you have January 6th, which universally, at least people know it's a big deal. This one is going to be harder to sell, but it doesn't mean that it's a weak case. After all, this is the same hush money payment that sent Michael Cohen to prison. And so,
to be fair, Michael Cohen went to prison for a lot of different things, lying to Congress among them, and there's a whole host of crimes. But your point's well made. I still want to get back to, though, Nancy Pelosi. No one is above the law. Everyone has the right to trial to prove innocence. And you've got Republicans, including President Trump, saying this is a political prosecution. When you've got a top Democrat prejudging the case and saying now people have to prove their innocence, doesn't that play into this argument that it's a kangaroo court?
Well, she's not the judge and she's not a lawyer. So she misspoke when she said you have to prove your innocence, because you're right. You have the presumption of innocence already, so you don't have to prove anything. I think what she's trying to say, if I can guess, is that to get an indictment, you need to have probable cause and go before a majority of the grand jurors. And that's all you need to go ahead with an indictment. But prosecutors are ethically bound to have a good faith basis that they could get a conviction beyond any reasonable doubt. So unless Alvin Bragg thought he had the goods, he wouldn't become the first prosecutor in the history of our country to indict a former president.
He's also the guy who ran, to be fair, on indicting President Trump, so in going and investigating President Trump. So there is that. But your point's well made. Indicting the president's one thing, indicting him and losing is another thing that doesn't bode very well. Scottie, when it comes to the way Trump is going to act, say, on Tuesday, and I'm kind of just gaming this out, right? He goes to the courthouse. Whatever happens at the courthouse happens. Almost more like a business meeting, really, than some huge criminal proceeding. At least the parts that we'll see, because he's going to drive in the SUVs and drive back out. Where does he go? Does he go to Trump Tower? Does he get back on Trump Force One and go hold a rally somewhere? How long can he keep this up? How long does he want to keep this up?
Well, make no mistake, from the moment it was announced yesterday that he was indicted, and the fact that we knew there was a large page count, but we don't actually know what the indictment is, this became one great win for both sides, because now all weekend long, we can speculate. We can talk about what kind of crimes are happening. We can sit there and create this storyline that is going to come to sort of a head when it comes to Tuesday and Trump driving up. I would like to think it's kind of have as much of anticipation as maybe the last episode of The Apprentice. It's going to have him walking down. It's going to be extremely dramatic, because amongst Trump's base, remember, this is actually playing well, because he has said it all along that he was targeted. This was going to happen. So every single minute that he gets on camera with all the attention on him, he is the greatest chess player in the fact that he can manipulate the media to make sure that he is the one that is controlling the narrative. And so far, it looks like he's being successful at it, even when he's indicted in a supposed criminal case.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.